Welcome to another SEC baseball preview by Southern Sports Gumbo. We're going to be talking Georgia baseball tonight. Sweets, get us going here.
Yeah, so Georgia's coming off a strong season last year. They finished 43-17, hosted a regional and lost won the regional, hosted super regional as well, and lost 1-2 in that. So didn't get to Omaha, but had a pretty good season. That being said, they lost a ton of talent to the draft last year. They had 10 guys off of last year's squad drafted. They lost their entire starting pitching staff, and they lost six position starters as well. So, but Wes Johnson did a great job in the portal, um, top to bottom, and was able to bring in a ton of projected starters. As of right now, they have the projected starting lineup with Daniel Jackson at catcher. He's a returning starter, hit 240 last year with 14 bombs. Trey Phelps, they have this site has him penciled in at first base. We see him at first and third. In any case, his bat will be in the lineup. He's a preseason All-American who hit 318 last year with 10 bombs. Local kid here from the Marietta area. Been fun to watch him grow up and play well. Ryan Black, who also was a Georgia player last year, hit 276 with seven bombs. They brought in Colby Branch is their shortstop. He hit 303 with 13 home runs last year. And now the transfers start coming in. Michael O'Shaughnessy from Davidson had 70 RBIs last year, and they have him penciled to start at third. In the outfield, they have a two-way player, Kenny Ishikawa, who plays center field, but he also is a pitcher, and they're thinking he's going to be their Sunday guy as of right now. He came in from Seattle, so there's a little bit of a trend with two-way players now. Jordy Oriok, pardon me, from New Mexico, is a big power guy and a left-handed bat. So something Georgia wanted to add to their lineup was some left-handed power, and they got that in Oriok. Also, outfielder Scott Newman from USC Upstate is an outfielder that'll be relied on for depth as well. And the other catcher that'll be rotating in there is Jack Ackerman. He came in from Richmond, and he's a noted power hitter as well. Georgia's got a ton of hitting depth, and in the little bandbox that they play in, if the wind's blowing out, that's going to be really good for Georgia power numbers. Pitching wise, their starting rotation, their Friday night guy will be Joey Volchko, who came in from Stanford. In the fall, he touched 100 a couple times, so this kid's got a blazing fastball, and he's a preseason All-American. At Saturday, they've got Kei Naoki, who they brought in from USC. He was their ace last season, USC's ace last season. Had a decent year, but wanted to try his luck in the SEC. It was a great pickup for Georgia. And their Sunday guy as of now is outfielder slash Sunday guy Kenny Ishikawa from Seattle. His numbers were so-so last year, but he's got a lot of talent, and they've got him penciled in there for right now. As I said, Georgia lost a ton of guys to the draft last year. So how these guys are going to be able to gel together and come together as a team is going to have a big effect on how the season goes. I think talent-wise, they're there. They certainly could get to Omaha if things break right for them. Um, as of right now, I think Georgia's looking at 18-12, 19-11, type of season in the SEC. And I think that they'll certainly host a regional, and if things break right for them, they could be a top 8 seed as well. What are your guys' thoughts?
So I'll say
Yeah,
I think I think Wes Johnson's been an interesting dynamic as a head coach. Um, I think the reason they didn't make a run any further last year's was their pitching staff. That in his first 2 years as a head coach, he's had really good lineups, and suspect pitching staffs. And if you're playing in that ballpark, once you get to the NCAA tournament, you got to have good pitching. So I think they're a little similar this year. They got Volko, big upside. They have a pitching staff that has upside, but really not proven. So I think that's going to be the thing. Can he develop his pitching staff to be really good to take them deep in the tournament, or are they going to be similar than the last 2 years with a really good lineup that hits a lot, hits for average, hits a lot of home runs, um, and wins a lot of games. I agree. If you look at their non-conference schedule, they play nobody, so they might have 1, 2 losses in that non-con schedule. I do think they play Tech. That's it. Um, and then, so I think they could 1, 2 losses in non-conference schedule. Like you said, 18, 19 wins in the SEC. They'll probably be a top 10 team based on their record. But I could also see them being an early out like last year if the pitching staff doesn't develop. One guy that I like just because it fits the team and that little bitty short field is Scott. I think his last name's Newman. They transferred from USC Upstate. He had 20 home runs, and again, USC Upstate made the tournament last year. Yeah, Scott Newman. He's an outfielder. Gold Glove candidate too in the outfield. Hits for a lot of power. I just think he matches that stadium. And you named off several. They got 5 or 6 guys that are going to compete in that outfield, first base. And again, Johnson likes to mix up guys. He'll play them at multiple positions and try to figure out, where the best bats are by position. So I feel confident he'll find those guys, and they'll play a lot of guys, play different positions, and they'll have a good everyday lineup. They took too many good transfers. Another interesting thing, and then I'll throw it to DMAC and we can finish up with Georgia. I think how he's built this team over 3 years has been really interesting too. He has been all transfer portal. And what makes that interesting to me, I think Georgia's always been a sleeping giant in baseball. And look, he's winning there, so you give him credit. He's progressed the program further than others. But what has made me think it's a sleeping giant is the high school baseball and the baseball, travel baseball at East Cobb, one of the best in the country. And he's rarely tapped into that very deep at all. He's really went straight portal. I'm not knocking it because he won, but it's just surprised me how he's done that to go from there. So anyhow, that's my thoughts. Good team. Pitching is going to be whether this team makes a run at the NCAA tournament or gets into the tournament and flames out early again. DMAC, your thoughts?
You're on mute, buddy.
Yeah, you talk about the transfer portal heavy philosophy that he has. He brought in 5 freshmen this year, which he brought in 5 really good freshmen. Ty Peebles is going to be really good. Cole Johnson. I really like Jackson Peavy, who's another Georgia kid. Um, at some point, I think he's going to have to lean a little bit more on the high school recruiting because, especially in the transfer portal, most of these guys are, juniors, seniors that are coming in. So one thing that I did notice with their schedule too, from an SEC standpoint, is they've got a sneaky tough schedule in the SEC. They travel to Mississippi State, Arkansas, Auburn, Texas A&M, and Ole Miss. They do get to host Tennessee, Carolina, Florida, Missouri, and LSU. But with the power bats LSU and Tennessee have, if pitching's not an A-plus performance, that's not much of an advantage in Athens. Missing Texas and Vandy are nice misses, and getting to play South Carolina and Missouri, both of which at home are, positive additions for them on that schedule. One of my favorite players on this team this year, I mean, I like Colby Branch. He brings, some consistency at shortstop, but I really like Kenny Ishikawa. I know you mentioned him tweets and talked about him playing center field and being a Sunday pitcher. To me, he's a kid who, was born in Japan. So he's going to be their own version of Shohei Ohtani this year in the SEC, especially when they're playing there at Foley. So I expect him to have a really big season. All the fall reports said he's got more power than they anticipated too coming in from a batting perspective. As a freshman last year, hit 8 home runs. He is eligible for the draft this upcoming summer, so he's likely a one and done for them too. But I do think that at some point they're going to have to lean more heavily on the high school recruiting ranks. I've got them at like a 16 and 14 type of team. I could see a ceiling at like 18, 19 wins. 16 is probably going to be enough to host a regional. So I don't know if they make it to Omaha this year, but they're going to be a really good team, especially when they're playing at home.
I agree. I to jump onto what you guys say to finish up. The talent here in East Cobb is insane, and Georgia has always has never been a big presence here, which is wild because of how much talent there is. Georgia Tech actually does decent in East Cobb. But Georgia has never been a presence here, and it's insane because they could pick a team exclusively from Georgia and be competitive year in year out in the SEC, and that's not hyperbole. That's fact. That's how much talent is here, and it all goes other places. Some of it goes to the draft. Kids end up at LSU, they end up at Auburn. Tennessee does well in East Cobb. Alabama does well in East Cobb. Ole Miss does as well. So there are a lot of schools that do well here in East Cobb, and Georgia needs to get on that train to build from the ground up instead of these one and dones every year.
Yeah, and I like the point you make, DMAC, about their home field advantage. With if their pitching's not good, it's really not home field advantage. Playing into that also is, I think it'll be interesting to see because they don't have a lot of tradition. They don't draw big crowds. I went over to the NCAA tournament last year because Georgia played Oklahoma State in it, and the stadium holds about 5,000-6,000, and it was half full, and they were playing to advance. So you're right. You're 100% right. With a short field, if their pitching is not good, they don't necessarily have the fans, the stands full. It's not a home field advantage in the SEC like your traditional schools: LSU, Mississippi State, Arkansas, Ole Miss, Texas. I could go on and on. A&M, Vandy, Tennessee, and that have. So they need that pitching to step forward.
Yeah, I agree. So that is a wrap on Georgia baseball tonight. This is SEC preview number 10. We've got 6 more coming your way this week. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe, and we'll see you soon.